Today I will be presenting on a program called Words Their Way. I'm Sherry Bagby, and we have an objective today. I posted it over here so that as the slideshow continues, we'll be able to look back at the objective. But if you wouldn't mind saying the objective with me so that we can sort of take ownership. So let's read it together. We will demonstrate our knowledge and make further inquiries about Words Their Way by completing a 3-2-1 exit ticket. So as you see, I've put some paper out on the table. So as we're going through these slides, I have attempted to address those in the audience who already have a solid knowledge base of Words Their Way. But I still think that I was able to find things that I've learned that I hope there are things in this program that you will still learn even if you've done the program before. So be looking out for those things. And you could go ahead and jot them down as we go. And again, as we're going, make sure you're jotting down questions. So really by the end of the program, your exit ticket could potentially already be completed. So we're going to keep that chart up on the wall so that you can sort of keep track of our objective, that we're going to demonstrate our knowledge and then continue to ask questions about the program. And so here's just an agenda so that you can sort of know where we're going and have a big gist of where I'm taking you. So first I'll do a quick introduction, and we'll all take a moment to do some reflection, and then we'll watch a very short What is Word Study video just to kind of get your head wrapped around the main ideas. But then we'll talk about beginning of year procedures, so what you would expect to do close to the beginning of the year to get started with the program. And then we'll kind of zoom in on Mondays. What would a Monday look like in your classroom if you are implementing the program? And then we'll take it to the weekly routine. So we'll talk about what you do on Mondays, and then what the rest of the week looks like for your students and for you. And at the end, we'll just sort of wrap it up with your exit ticket, which potentially could be already filled out as we go. So first, I'll go ahead and do a short introduction. My name is Sherry Bagby, and I teach at Waco ISD at Mountain View Elementary School. I did teach for 8 years at a different district, and then I joined Mountain View last year, so this is my second year with Waco ISD. And at the same time, I started graduate school at the University of Texas at Arlington. And so a lot of things happened at once that led me to want to learn more about Words Their Way. So when I was working in my last district, I heard about it, but that was that. And then when I started at Mountain View, some teachers were using it, and I kind of got interested in it because if my peers are using it and they're saying it's a good thing to do, I want to learn more. But really the magic happened through my graduate school classes. I just noticed a pattern. Every professor was mentioning the program, my textbooks were mentioning it, and I really started to realize that this was something valuable and worthy of my time. So I bought the book, and I can share that with you, and I would definitely encourage you to purchase it and at least read the chapters that are appropriate for the age range that you are working with. And so on top of that, though, I got to go to the International Literacy Association conference this last summer, and I spent a whole day with Donald Baer and some of the other authors of this book. And so I was able to ask questions that sometimes the book leaves vague, and it was just so great. And so I feel like I started this year with a lot more knowledge of the program, and that's my goal, is to share that knowledge with teachers who maybe have already been implementing it, but just not exactly sure if they're doing it the right way. But also for those teachers who've never even heard of it, I hope this program can address both types of members of the audience. So that's my goal for us today. So we're going to just take a couple of moments. So if you would grab a piece of paper, and I'd like for you to just reflect on what does word study mean to you. And I'm keeping it kind of vague on purpose, just whatever you think about when you think about word study in your classroom, or beliefs you have that maybe you don't implement in your classroom. Go ahead and jot down some of your thinking. All right, and your 2 minutes is about up. So now that you've sort of connected with your background knowledge and you're thinking about your experiences and your opinions about word study and what that might look like, we're going to go ahead and watch a short video. We're not even going to watch the whole thing, just about 1.5 minutes to get a roundabout idea of word study. And this video came from the Professional Development Toolkit that comes with this book. So if you buy this book, you have access to this Professional Development Toolkit, and there are tons of videos and just tons of resources. So this is the PD Toolkit. If you purchase the book, you get all of these resources. I'm going to find the video called What is Word Study? There it is. And so there are videos like you can see weekly schedules, and there are lots of videos specific to, like, someone in here mentioned that you work with pre-K students. There are videos about that. So it's just a really great resource. Do any of you all have the book? Yes. Just curious. Yeah. Oh, good, good. Have y'all played around much with this? Yeah.
Becoming literate depends on the fast, accurate recognition of words and texts, and fast, accurate production of words in writing, so that readers can focus their attention on making meaning. Word study explicitly teaches students, through hands-on activities, the vital skills necessary to excel at word recognition, spelling, and vocabulary. Literacy research supports both the activities as well as the scope and sequence. Vocabulary instruction that is deep and generative improves comprehension. Word study is an integrated approach to phonics, spelling, and vocabulary instruction that's based on students' development and can be part of a core literacy instruction. Integration brings efficiency to teaching and helps students make connections across reading, writing, and vocabulary.
Word study is great in the kindergarten classroom because our main focus is on letters and sounds and concept of word, and word study just plays right into that.
As a teacher, I really see the importance of word study in the classroom, and I can see it in the kids' writing. I can see it in the language that they use to talk about their word study. I love hearing that language from them, and I love listening to the kids explain why these words go with these other words.
Figure 1.15 at the end of the chapter is a concise description of each stage, the types of reading and writing activities, and the focus of word study during the stage.
And we're going to go ahead and stop there. But that chart that she showed is a great resource for, especially if you are in pre-K and you're wondering, how do I implement this? Because I sent out that Google Forms survey and someone said, how do I do this in pre-K? So that chart shows you in the emergent stage what to look for. So once your students begin making word-like or number-like lines, that's a sign that they are trying to represent letters or numbers even though they're not really sure the names of the letters and numbers. And so that's a sign that they're ready to start those very initial emergent sorts. Okay, so we're going to move on to sort of the big ideas. So the big ideas of word study is that you determine the student's stage of development, and then once you've determined all your students' stage, you group them according to those stages. And after you've created these groups, you provide word work according to where they are on the developmental continuum. So I know that at Waco ISD we expect a 15-minute word study segment, and that's more to teach our grade level standards and skills. This is the time where we can actually fill in any gaps that students have missed. So we're still teaching our grade level standards and skills, but this program allows us to back up to where the student is and start helping them to progress from there so that hopefully by the end of the year they will be ready for the next grade level. So this would be implemented during maybe the guided reading hour, and I'll get more into that later. But those are just some of the big ideas. So at the beginning of the year, which is now, some actions you would want to take in your classroom is to give the spelling inventory, which we're actually going to practice that so you'll feel really comfortable. You know, even next week you could give the spelling inventory and know how to do it and how to score it. We're going to practice all of those things, and we're going to show you how you can take that spelling inventory and determine a stage. And once you have those stages for all of your students, you can group them, and then I'll show you the next step after that. So we'll talk about beginning of the year right now. This document is the feature guide, and so essentially we are going to have students spell all of those words on the left, and if you open up the folder that's in front of you, you'll see a copy of this feature guide in there. And this is going to help you determine your student's stage of development. And so a few things, though, that I want to note is that in a moment we're actually going to practice giving this spelling inventory, and I'm going to be using the elementary spelling inventory. But I want you to know, for those of you who are doing pre-KK, there is a separate primary spelling inventory, and I have a few copies of those if you would like one. But some important things to note is that you administer the inventory to all of your students, and we have verbatim directions, so you don't just have to kind of make up how to do it. We're going to tell you exactly what to do, and you'll see those verbatim directions in your packet as well. So right now, I'm actually going to give this to you, and I am going to go a little bit faster than you would want to do this in your classroom. I'm going to, just to save us time. But I just really want you to leave this presentation knowing that you have a copy of this, and then it tells you exactly how to give the spelling inventory. It tells you the word. It tells you the sentence. So I'm actually going to invite you to grab a piece of notebook paper and a pencil, and I'm going to call out the words. But here's what I would like for you to do. If you could try, I know this is kind of funny, but if you could try to pretend like you are a student in your grade level. So I teach 3rd grade. I want you to try to spell the words like you might imagine some of your students spelling them, because when we're all done with this, we're going to trade papers, and you're going to get to score your neighbor's paper using this inventory or this feature guide. So you're going to get practice actually analyzing someone's work on this feature guide, and if all the words are spelled correctly, there's not going to be much work to do. So when I call out the words, write it down just like you're a student in your grade level. And again, I'm going to go faster than I normally would if I were actually implementing this with my 3rd graders. So number 1, bed. I hopped out of bed this morning. Bed. Number 2, ship. The ship sailed around the island. Ship. Remember to spell it like your grade level might. Number 3, when. When will you come back? When. Number 4, lump. He had a lump on his head after he fell. Lump. Number 5, float. I can float on the water with my new raft. Float. Number 6, train. I rode the train to the next town. Train. Number 7, place. I found a new place to put my books. Place. Number 8, drive. I learned to drive a car. Drive. Remember, I'm going faster than you would if you were doing this with your students. Number 9, bright. The light is very bright. Bright. Number 10, shopping. She went shopping for new shoes. Shopping. Number 11, spoil. The food will spoil if it is not kept cool. Spoil. Number 12, serving. The restaurant is serving dinner tonight. Serving. 13, chewed. The dog chewed up my favorite sweater yesterday. Chewed. Number 14, carries. She carries apples in her basket. Carries. Number 15, marched. We marched in the parade. Marched. Number 16, shower. The shower in the bathroom was very hot. Shower. Number 17, bottle. The bottle broke into pieces on the tile floor. Bottle. Number 18, favor. He did his brother a favor by taking out the trash. Favor. Number 19, ripen. The food will ripen over the next few days. Ripen. Number 20, cellar. I went down to the cellar for the can of paint. Cellar. Number 21, pleasure. It was a pleasure to listen to the choir sing. Pleasure. 22 is fortunate. It was fortunate that the driver had snow tires. Fortunate. 23 is confident. I am confident that we can win the game. Confident. 24, civilize. They wanted to civilize the forest people. Civilize. And the last one is opposition. The coach said the opposition would be tough. Okay, so I hope you remember to spell those words like your grade level might. And so let me talk to you a little bit about this document and what to do next. So imagine you've given this to all your students, you've taken up all their papers. Here would be the next step. You take their paper and you mark words right or wrong by writing the correct spelling next to what they wrote. So this can end up looking really crazy if you have students who are misspelling lots and lots of words, which they will, because as you could see, it started out easy and it got more and more challenging. So at whatever point your students begin misspelling a word, you're going to write what they were trying to spell to the side so that if you show this to a parent, they can make sense of what their child was attempting and what they were trying to spell. So if you would go ahead and trade papers with the person next to you. Oh, okay. It's fine. Okay, and so yeah, go ahead and trade papers and then start to notice where your the paper that you're grading starts having errors and begin writing the correct version next to that. And you can talk if you have any questions or... Okay, and some of you all are kind of finishing up, so I'm going to go ahead and start to talk to you while you're working on that about how to analyze the feature guide. And so you have a copy of the feature guide in your folder, and I just want to share with you a little bit about how this works. So this example, Jake, on this last slide, these were his spellings. And so what we're going to do is take, for example, he spelled numbers 1 through 8 correctly. And so I'll show you how that looks on the feature guide. And then starting at 9, he was making errors. But here's something that's key towards their way. We're paying attention to what the students are doing correctly. So even though he spelled bright incorrectly, we're going to pay attention to which features he was able to spell correctly. And then we're going to kind of analyze the feature where he made an error. So on the feature guide for Jake, you'll notice that we place a check by the B, the D, and the E because Jake spelled all of those parts of bed correctly. Same with ship. There are check marks next to each feature. Same with when and lump and all the way until we get to number 9, bright. Look how we still put a check mark next to the BR. He knows that feature, the initial consonant blend. But he made a mistake. Instead of doing IGH, you notice he did the I consonant E. And so we note that error. We note which features he did correctly, but we also note which ones he did incorrectly by writing what he tried. And then on this far end, what you can do is tally up how many points they got correctly. And then in this column, if the word was spelled correctly, they get an additional point. But for bright, even though he got that check mark there, he did not spell the word correctly. So he does not get a point for spelling the entire word correctly. So I'm going to give you a few moments to try to actually fill in the feature guide that I gave you based on your partner's spelling. And I want to encourage you to talk. If you're not exactly sure about how to complete something, let's talk about it and learn from each other.